Hello, and welcome to Zen Maintenance podcast with your host, me, Christine Burke. I'm so excited that you popped in to listen or watch today for a mini mindful moment. Now, these are a little bit different than the usual regular episodes that we do. This is where I do a little storytelling, read from one of my books, and we do have a mini mindful moment together of breath and meditation and mudras. So without further ado, let's just get settled and get ready. Make sure that you get comfortable, whether you're moving around and you've got your AirPods in or you're listening on a speaker. Just start to settle internally. Get into a more present and focused place. If you're driving, staying alert, but also taking in your surroundings and really just making the most of the moment wherever you are. Now, certainly if you have the comfort and luxury of sitting, being able to relax into your seat, go ahead and nestle in. Shrug your shoulders, take a breath, let it go. So, here you are in the here and now. And today, I am reading from this book of mine, The Power of Breath and Hand Yoga, Pranayama and Mudras for Health and Well-Being. And what I'll be reading to you is the chapter on intuition and wisdom. And then we'll do a little practice. So without further ado, here we go. Intuition is like a muscle that can be located in the body, but when awakened, exercised, and strong, is undeniable. The feeling of knowing something without logic, reason, or even information is mystical, yet common. The biggest difficulty with intuition is trusting it. We may have a hunch or gut feeling, often felt in the solar plexus, that is hard to ignore, and yet we will reason it away or discount it for lack of solid evidence. It's also easy to get confused when hopes and fears masquerade as intuition. One way to look at intuition is as a refined and elevated version of instinct. Instinct is described as a learned behavior that becomes automatic, while intuition is a feeling that arises seemingly out of thin air. This is where wisdom comes in and brings them together. We often hear that we carry ancestral patterns, coding, and core beliefs from the beginning of time. In every culture, stories exist of women's intuition or women's wisdom that led to health cures, averted disasters, and more. Perhaps when we're not complicating matters with the need for logic, reason, and material proof, we are privy to an ancient instinctual wisdom that is experienced as intuition. Perhaps trusting our intuition can become a learned and very valuable behavior, an instinct. I often hear, how do I know if it's my intuition or just my mind? That's a very good question, because the mind is tricky and full of pesky thoughts that camouflage themselves as truth. Ironically, we are very easily persuaded by what comes from the mind, and yet so suspicious of the information coming from the body or energy body. When a rabbit freezes in terror and nothing seems to be near, is that instinct or intuition? It's most likely not a thought as we know them. Either way, the rabbit trusts that feeling in her body and hightails it out of there. Yet we tend to settle for debate. I once ignored my intuition so intensely that I was mugged. And I want to tell you that story, which is not in the book. So at the time, I was a young actress, therefore also a young waitress, and I was living in a big city, and I waitressed at a place that was really popular and really happening and very buzzy energy, and it would go pretty late into the night. And on this particular night, I left really late with a lot of cash, and I decided that I was going to take a taxi home instead. It was really cold outside, and normally I would have walked, taken the subway, things like that, but I decided to take a taxi this night. And then when we got about a block from my house, I decided to jump out so we wouldn't have to go all the way around the one-way street, and I was just antsy to get home. So I did. So I'm walking down the street, And normally, this is a very bustling city at any time of day or night. And normally, I would feel very safe because of that, the amount of people around. But there weren't that many people around at this time. And I only had one block between the taxi and my apartment door. But very quickly, after I got out of the car and started walking, I heard a whistle. And it wasn't an eerie whistle, it was sort of a cheery whistle, like something like that. I'm not a great whistler, but it was something like that. And the minute that I heard it, all of the hairs on my head and everywhere on my body, to be perfectly honest, stood on end. And I had a full intuitive flash reaction, visceral response that this wasn't good. But I ignored it because I didn't like the idea that I couldn't feel safe walking one block home. I didn't like the idea that as a woman in the world, I didn't feel capable in this moment or on my own. And I really fought it. And there was, this kind of angry part of me that didn't want to admit that maybe I couldn't take care of myself in this particular situation. So I flipped the script completely and decided to develop this conversation inside my head that I had no reason to be scared. And there's no logic about this. It's just someone walking along behind me whistling. But in retrospect and in truth, everything in my body was telling me this is wrong. Something is up. So I'm having this debate in my head that there's no logic, there's no evidence, it's just a feeling. And so I keep walking. And when I got to my apartment door, I pushed it open and this guy pushed past me and went into the foyer. And at that moment, my intuition kicked up a notch. So I started to pretend that I was getting something out of my mailbox. I stopped and I was kind of fumbling around and trying to act nonchalant. And the guy ran to the second door in the building because there's the first door that's the glass door, this foyer where the mailboxes are, and then the second door. And he starts yelling through that second glass door up the first flight of stairs. This is a 6th floor walk up. Bobby, Bobby. Now, it just so happens that there was a guy that I was pretty sure named Bobby, lived on that floor. So now my brain is like, well, he's a friend of his. He knows him. He's supposed to be here. And I'm kind of struggling between these two voices in my head. And somebody comes out that door that he was standing at that goes to the interior of the building. And he rushes in and runs up the stairs yelling for his friend guy. So I thought, oh, yeah, see? Okay. False alarm. Obviously, good thing I just carried on. So I went through that second door to head in to go upstairs the 6 flights to my apartment. And at the exact moment that I stepped in, I got another blast. And this time I listened to it. And I turned around to run back through that door and he grabbed me. And I don't want to go into all the details, but I'm just going to say it was a terrifying, I don't know how many minutes. So I had all this cash because I just come from waitressing and it had been a very good night. And although with one kind of notable, sort of hilarious exception, this little Italian restaurant that I worked at was a favorite of Robert De Niro at the time. And I had waited on a table with a lot of people and he was hosting. And I had the sort of humiliation at the time of trying to open this very expensive bottle of wine in front of Robert De Niro and his entire party. I mean, I ended up with it like between my legs trying to get the cork out. He was very gracious and I had a very good tip anyway. And anyway, all of that was in my backpack, my hard-earned money and my new running shoes. So as he's holding me in a very threatening way and threatening me, I said, look, I've got a lot of cash and you can have it all, but please don't take my running shoes. And I don't know what possessed me to say that. I don't know what it mattered in the moment, but under duress, you say things. So, I mean, to his credit, he did just take the money and not the shoes. And then he took off. And as he was leaving through the second door, my intuition, again, just evaporated. It literally left the building. And I hollered, "You're welcome." I was upset and my life had been threatened. And I was angry, and anyway, there it was. And he turned around and gave me a very, very threatening look. So then I zipped it. Now, this example was so crystal clear. I never made that mistake again. I never made the mistake of debating my intuition to that degree. And I really do actually appreciate the experience, which there was more to it and there was some sort of aftermath around it. But ultimately, it taught me an incredibly valuable lesson that my body has incredible wisdom. We all do, intelligence coursing through it. And the energy body, just like that little rabbit or any animal in nature will tell you, the energy body speaks, and it speaks truth. So that lesson, I haven't made that mistake again. And I have also experienced numerous life-altering miracles following intuitive flashes. And these life-altering miracles have been for all of the best things in my life. And I bet you have those stories too. Following my intuition has led me to all of the best things in my life, and probably out of some other sticky wickets, unlike what I just described. So the body doesn't know how to lie. It responds out of a deep knowing, and it feels with a kind of sensitivity that's unknown to the mind. So if you wonder if it's your mind or your intuition talking, get quiet enough to observe the sensations in your body. If you feel peace and ease and relaxation, that's good information. If you feel edgy and fueled with adrenaline, pay close attention. In this way, we can start to separate the chatter from the knowing presence of spirit energy. A guru is someone who brings you from dark to light. When we are in tune with our higher nature and tapping into deeper wisdom, we guide ourselves to the light. So the breath that we're going to use to tap into this intuition conversation is Ujjayi Pranayama. Ujjayi. It means victorious, triumphant breath. It's the kind of breath that you would use if you were taking a vinyasa flow class, or really in general in any yoga class where you're focusing not just on the presence of the breath, but the sound of the breath. And it's truly quite transformative. So first, let's just take a few moments to tap into that breath, to give it a practice. It's a very easygoing kind of breath. Anyone can really do this. If you feel uncomfortable for any reason or you have an intuition not to, just sit quietly, observe that you are breathing, and enjoy these reflective moments. If you can, close your eyes. Imagine your breath is washing away confusion to reveal peace, clarity, and understanding. The way this breath works is that we breathe in and out through the nose, but we act as if we're breathing through the throat. And the best way to get started is to practice with an inhale through your nose now, and then open your mouth and act as if you're fogging up your sunglasses, like Okay, do that again. Breathe in through your nose. Fog your sunglasses. And again. So that sound that we're making is constricting your throat. It's narrowing that passageway, and it produces that sort of oceanic sound, makes it really audible. You can hear it very well, and it warms up the energy in the throat, warms up the muscles of the throat as well. And now we want to try to do that for both. So as we inhale and we exhale, we're going to constrict a little bit in the throat and hear the breath passing through it like the ocean or even wind in a tunnel. So let's give that a try. Again, if your eyes are not closed and you can, go ahead and close them. Breathe in through your nose this time, constricting the throat. It should almost feel like you're breathing through the throat. And out through your nose this time, constricting the throat. Okay, so like we're breathing through the throat in both directions, but it's actually through the nose, and it almost feels like it's bypassing your nose and landing in your throat first for sensation. Let's try 3 in a row. Okay, let's take a break. If I have any Star Wars fans out there, you might be thinking Darth Vader. Sounds very much like Darth Vader breathing in his mask. And it's really quite lovely because that oceanic or wind sound, it does connect us to nature. Nature connects us to instinct and intuition. And it has that clearing effect. It's difficult to be busy and confused or complicated in the mind when that breath is taking precedence, when we're hearing the sound of it override everything else. So now we're going to add a mudra. And this is Naga Mudra. You can use whichever hand you'd like. Now, if you're not able to see me on YouTube, just try to listen and follow along. So you're placing one hand near your chest, a couple inches away, and the other hand on top of it. One thumb goes into the center of one palm, and the other thumb goes on top of that. So we've just created a little clasp. Okay? And that's floating right in front of your chest, or if it's more comfortable, you can put it on your chest. Naga Mudra invokes the snake goddess, and she's known for wisdom, supernatural strength, and shrewdness. And we're going to take what I call in my book a jewel thought, which is similar to an affirmation. And then we'll practice some of the Ujjayi breathing while holding this hand yoga position, this mudra. So if you're able to do all of this now, relax into it, the mudra, your eyes closed, your body relaxed and easy. And if you're busy, if you're just listening in, invoking the sensation and the feeling and the tone and staying safe and aware. Divine guidance and wisdom are here. In gratitude and with patience, I listen. Divine guidance and wisdom are here. In gratitude and with patience, I listen. And beginning Ujjayi breathing. Okay. We're going to begin to gently release the hands, letting them land in your lap. Inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And then when you're ready, beginning to open your eyes if they were closed. Okay, this practice, this Naga Mudra combined with Ujjayi breath is a wonderful, perfect practice when you're grappling with something, when you're asking yourself, is this my intuition? Is this fear? Is this just my mind being busy? Or Is this instinct? What is the answer here? Which way to go? I need clarity. This would be a great practice to invoke, relax into it. And then when you come out of it, you might check back in with whatever it is that you're dealing with or thinking about or working towards some sort of clarity or solution or plan. But you might also just go on about your day and let it work in the background. Intuition is always there. It's humming along. And intuition and instinct are truly some of our greatest superpowers. So I'm very grateful that we could take this time together today, that you could pop in for yourself and drop into yourself and have this mini mindful moment on Zen Maintenance Podcast with me, Christine. It means the world to me to spend this time with you. I hope you'll remember to share the podcast with anybody that you think could benefit, to like it, to comment, get involved. I would love to hear from you. And most of all, just know that I'm walking by your side. I'm cheering you on, and I look forward to being together again. Bye.